UncouthJ asks, I've been offered a project that could be good money, but I have a bunch of necessary personal infrastructure things on the go that make me think I can't / or shouldn't do it. Thoughts? This is a really important question about being a professional. And that is something we all grapple with all the time, how to balance that work-life balance. So you say you've been offered I just want to get this right. You say you've been offered this job for good money. And it could be good money. Okay, so you smell that there could be a real budget for this, which is great. But you also have a bunch of personal infrastructure things. Maybe you've just had kids, or maybe they're going off to school, or a family member or something like that, or you're moving house or shops. All of those things can radically inhibit a job. And you're asking the right question by saying to yourself, maybe good money isn't enough. What I would submit that helps me in examining whether or not to take something on is to actually ask yourself, okay, what would it look like if I could do this job and take care of all this personal infrastructure stuff? Like, there might be good money, but let me ask myself this question: how much money would make me able to do this job and take care of this stuff? One of the phrases that has helped me in the last few years more than any other is, if I could wave a magic wand. And it works personally to just give yourself like a really clear view of what the ultimate good could be. And you're never going to get quite there, but like, if you could wave a magic wand, how would you really like things to go? What does your life look like in taking this gig? Like, what's not enough money? Like, start there. Think about, like, if I got paid my normal rate, it wouldn't be enough. I'd be suffering through this and eventually be a wash. Then add money to your mental picture of that until it does make sense, because there is often a number. And then you can go back to them and say, yeah, I can't do this for less than X. And it doesn't have to be personal. They might go, well, we can't do that. And you're like, great. And then I walk. But it's not with any enmity. I love knowing values like that. I love going back into a negotiation with a real clarity of what I want. And it's like, sometimes you're in a negotiation just to sort of try and max out what you could get out of that negotiation, which is totally reasonable. But sometimes you're going there also to just be like, look, I couldn't possibly do this unless XYZ. And I love that kind of specific clarity. There's one other thing here. No, I think I've covered all that. Yeah. Good luck with that. It doesn't have to be reasonable either. Sorry, this is the last thing I want to say. The amount of money you might need to get a job done while you're taking care of other stuff, it might not be a reasonable amount, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for it. I mean, you don't want to burn a bridge necessarily, but at the same time, you don't want to kill yourself. Oh, this is the other thing. If I could wave a magic wand, I just described it as a very personally useful metric from which to take a look at what the best possible case scenario could be. But it is also terrific when you are collaborating with other people. And I'll flesh this out. When you are collaborating with other people and you're saying, I don't know, maybe the carpet should be green, maybe the carpet should be blue. Well, I'd like to keep the old carpet. Well, I'd like to make some new carpet. I'd like to get some new furniture. I'd like to. So you're working on the different aspects of a project. And if you then said to your collaborator, look, what I want is this. You have a collaborator. That's a little dictatorial, and you want to collaborate. And I have found that saying, look, if I could wave a magic wand, when I start with that phrase, I don't then say, what I want is this. What I then describe is the sort of overarching goals of the project. What I want is a space that feels welcoming and lovely. And that is a much less threatening way to really speak to your ultimate goals. Rather than saying, my goal is this, If I Could Wave a Magic Wand is a much more, I don't want to say neutral, but it sort of elevates the conversation to talk about the essence of the project that you're working on. And that's really where the conversation should be anyway. And we all can get lost in the weeds on specifics. Absolutely. And because we can get lost in the weeds on specifics, it's terrific to have a way to sort of bump up, zoom out, and take a look at things from the 10,000 foot view. Luckdragon, which is a terrific username, says, being 40-year-old, recently retired Navy Chief Quartermaster who loves the Kerbal Space Program, is it ever too late to become a creator when ADD drives your project hopping and interests? No. Look, if you are a veteran Navy Chief Quartermaster, you know how to attack and complete a project. All of us sufferers of ADD, have come up with coping mechanisms for our peripatetic natures. But it is never too late, ever. For every Jimi Hendrix story about the prodigy who burns out early, I like to collect the ones that start really late. Like Gabriel Byrne was in his 30s when he started acting. Like Raymond Chandler was in his mid to late 40s when he started writing, and he was an accountant for an oil company before that. Ridley Scott was 40 when he directed his first movie. Yeah, think about that. So I really like to collect and actually, I will tell you, Tom Hanks told me that my 50s would be the most productive decade of my whole life. And he's not wrong. So it is never too late. You clearly have built some skills in project completion in your professional life. And I totally think you should apply that to whatever living you feel like for your post-professional or for the next stage of your professional life. C2 Lawson asks, what do you think of the new Kenobi series so far? Well, I finished it last night and I really enjoyed the spit out of it. Really, highly, highly enjoyable. I know that there are a lot of complaints about the Leia character, the young Leia character, and I've heard a lot of people say that her portrayal is annoying. I somehow did not feel that way at all. In fact, the Kenobi series happens 5 years after the episode 3. Am I right about that? And about 8 years before episode 4. So Luke is 9 and he'll be 17 when New Hope comes out. Leia, very similar, almost identical in age, right? Yeah, they're twins. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, when I look at the young Leia from the Kenobi series, and I think in 8 years, you're going to be Carrie Fisher from New Hope, I'm like, yeah, that completely tracks. Totally. I loved seeing Vader. I loved seeing I watched the end of Kenobi just last night with my son Thing One, and he was like, when we were watching those flashback scenes, do you think we were watching them from Obi-Wan or Anakin's point of view? And I said, well, clearly it was both. Clearly they were both reliving as they were trying to tactically outthink each other. They were thinking about how each other fights. And they're also going back into a really intense history for both of them. Oh my goodness, I can't believe they... I know there's going to be some spoilers in here, but I'm trying not to give too many. But man, that last episode gets dark AF. And I appreciate that the series went there. I feel like Kenobi, each of these excursions, whether it's Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian or Kenobi, they feel very stylistically different, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that Lucasfilm is giving us so many different vantage points. Rogue One is such a strange... It stakes out such a strange narrative territory compared to the rest of the Star Wars canon, and it's so singular, and I love it. It's my second favorite Star Wars film. I feel like it's because Lucasfilm knows how to kind of stretch their elbows on this, on these narratives. So I really enjoyed Kenobi. I really, really specifically dug the Star Wars stuff. I got to meet Hayden Christensen a couple times in the last year, and recently I was like, we had some time, and I was like, dude, can I ask you some questions about the costume? And he was like, absolutely. And I said, is that costume a horror show? And he's like, it's a beast. But yeah, like, and to be fair, there are several actors filling that costume for different shots because Hayden is not 6.5 feet, 7.5 feet tall. But he's also doing a bunch of performance in there. And I imagine that costume lends a lot. And it's freaking great to look at Darth Vader and have him still be scary so many decades after I first saw Darth Vader on screen. And it serves to be remarkable to me how universally iconic those characterizations were for Star Wars. I mean, it's an astounding thing that villain still holds. And there's no new lights on Vader. There's no new part. That costume is canon as canon can be. I'm sure that the mask is bilaterally symmetrical now. I haven't looked deeply into it. The original Darth Vader masks were all over the place sculpturally. And I find that really lovely. But besides that, like, Vader hasn't changed since 1977, and he's still a terrifying badass. I dig that. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.